my beautiful friends. It is Laura Patricia Martin. Let's talk about ways your relationship with yourself impacts your health, your wealth, your relationship dynamics and how it extends from that. Because oftentimes when we're looking at relationships, it's like, oh, it's just to get love. It's just to get, this one thing, this relationship. And I want to talk about some shadows in the closet. I want to talk about things that I wish I heard more of that would have extended my search for this stuff, right? Like, I found myself chasing so many symptoms when at the root cause, it was my relationship with myself and my dysregulation of my nervous system and everything in between. And so as you are watching this, let me know, share in the comments, share in all the kind of things, how this is showing up for you. Hello, Kelly. And how this is relating and how, because I always love to hear it, right? Like, see how this is landing for you all. If you're new here, hi. I am a trauma specialist, helping women really calibrate their nervous system so they can call in the juiciest, delicious, most orgasmic lives and feel safe within that, especially women coming off of trauma, right? We're looking to calibrate our nervous system. Right now, what I'm going to be talking about is an extension of our program, Sacred Singlehood. I'm going to talk about that at the end. Hello, Nicole. I'm going to talk about that at the end and ways to get involved if you want to continue this conversation. But let's just jump straight into it, right? So when I first was getting into my life, self-development, I got into the nutrition route. Like, I'm an IBS anxiety specialist as well as a trauma specialist, and I got into the health scene of things. I wanted to heal my body, my symptoms, my IBS, my skin issues that I was having, my hormonal imbalances, and I was chasing these symptoms on their own, being obsessed with diets, being obsessed with supplements, being obsessed with eliminations, being obsessed with these rules that always kept me feeling like I wasn't enough, but it's right? Like, this is the right thing to do. We look at health and it's like, you're supposed to look a certain way, you're supposed to feel a certain way, you're supposed to have these things, not understanding why are these diets not working for me, or why can't I keep a diet, or why, and blaming myself. So anytime a symptom did come up, I would then be like, yeah, you idiot, because you didn't stick to the plan, or you didn't do this. And so I would get more and more strict, and that's how I became more and more orthorexic. And that took years of unraveling and healing, and on the back end of eating disorders and things of that. Like, I didn't understand that, eating disorders or my obsession with dieting or my skin issues or my IBS or any of that stuff was actually because of a dysregulated nervous system. I have plenty of videos on that. If you guys are new here, you can scroll through and look at that stuff around how the gut-brain connection and the polyvagal theory, and if our body is stuck in this trauma response, it doesn't matter how perfect your diet is. You're going to keep ending up back in the same spot, right? We have to do the body work beyond just checklists, right? Because if we get stuck chasing the wrong thing, we're never going to get to the end goal that we want, which is ultimately feeling peace of mind, feeling peace of body, feeling like we can handle things, feeling like we can call in love, feeling like we don't need to diet. At the end of our lives, when we think of things, it's like, are we really going to be like, wow, I wish I lost those 10 pounds, or wow, I'm really happy I, cut out all the FODMAPs, and I'm really happy that I spent all this money on supplements and I did that perfectly. It's like, no, I want the memories. I want this intentionality. I want this movement and this bravery and this boldness and this confidence and this magnetism. Like, we see women like this, and yet we get trapped in thinking, oh, this symptom here, if I heal this one symptom, then I will feel ready, like I belong, like I am worthy. But it doesn't actually come. And I'm assuming if you watch my channel or anything like that, like, you've experienced that, where it's like, why am I not feeling fulfilled yet, right? And so that's just one area, like healing the relationship to the self and the nervous system and becoming this activated portal, right? Helped to resolve an eating disorder, helped to resolve my symptoms, helped to resolve anything that I thought was outside of me and going to fix it. It's like, only our body can do that when we actually replace things, right? Like, I've explained, recently me and my partner uncoupling, we're breaking up, right? And how even like Sundays are really fucking hard for me, because that is our sacred Sunday, right? Like, that is something it used to just be our sacred Sunday. So Sundays are hard because I'm recalibrating my nervous system and I'm changing what I'm used to on those days, but not in a way of like, oh, let me just go and like write positive affirmations and tell myself I'm safe, even though those are things I'm doing. I'm also looking at what are the neurons I need to replace in my brain, the dopamine, the oxytocin, the, norepinephrine, the things that you need to replace, especially after uncoupling, so that your body doesn't seek these quick fixes elsewhere. This is how we get into addiction. So mine used to be alcohol, mine used to be drugs, mine used to be overworking and over exercising and under eating and all the kind of things. Hey, Jessica. And we get trapped in these thinking the diet is the problem, thinking our relationship to food is the problem, thinking, that one thing. And it is, right? Like those are symptoms we have to address, but the root is the dysregulated nervous system, the chasing all these other things. So when we actually heal the trauma of the body, these outlets that we're using as self-protection are released, are set in stone, or are released so that we can actually have the freedom to explore who we are and have this openness and heal these wounds. And so like right now, it's just, I'm allowing the space to heal, right? And I'm replacing the certain neurons and having these conversations and doing these certain practices and the strategies that I'm teaching you in Sacred Singlehood. So I don't carry them into next relationships. So I don't, get triggered into old addiction behaviors, because addictions are just your nervous system's self-protection mechanism. So we get lost in this idea of, why am I self-sabotaging? Why do I always, binge eat pizza when I go through a breakup? Or why do I always, numb out and I know I want to work on myself, but then I get lost in the binge series of Netflix? Or why, we get lost in these things of craving more, but also fearing it. And so we stick in these self-protection mechanisms because that's our nervous system. And so if that's something you're doing, and if you kind of feel trapped in those one things, I want you to know, I see you, I hold space for you. I still have to navigate those things. And it's not to say we can't have things for comfort, right? We don't want to strip away all of our comforts. It's just looking at, is this pushing me in the direction for that future version of myself, to call in the love, to get the wealth, to have the career, to do the things, to create the impact, to, have these things that we crave as humans: love, money, sex, power, right? It's just, there's so many rock songs about it. That's what we desire. But we have to be able to look at these things. And that's another one that I wanted to talk about, money, right? Money is a big thing that I didn't know healing relationship to self would change, because also when sad or triggered or traumatized, I would just overspend. I would go out, I'd buy drinks, I'd go shopping thinking clothes would make me feel better. I'd go out, go on trips. And it's not to say these things are bad, right? But when we do things as an extension of us, it changes the way we do things. Hey, darling, it changes the way we do things, because we go into things and they're not going to fix us, right? We go into them and it's this is going to amplify the person that I already am. This is going to amplify my happiness, my health, my relationships. This is going to feel good. This is why I travel to, do these kind of things. It's not I'm going to escape to figure out this stuff. This is an extension to amplify my existence. So when you heal the relationship to self, you heal your relationship to finances. You understand where your money is going, and it feels good. I can tell you the pillars of where my money goes and the memories that were made. And, when I'm looking at my credit card statements and how that all works, and I didn't know that was a thing, because I used to not want to look at it, because then it would give me the shame, right? I don't want to look at my finances, because then that means I'm failing, because debt, quote unquote, is bad, whatever. And we get lost in these other numbing mechanisms, and then we're like, oh, but I can't get help because I don't have the money. And it's well, if we look at our finances and we see where are we actually spending our money, and why are we spending our money in the way that we're spending it, and we see this activation portal open up, and we start to look at it, and we're like, oh, here's where I'm overspending when I'm drinking, or here when I'm trying to buy things thinking it's gonna, getting lost in Amazon, when, thinking a thing will heal that void of that sense of belonging, and it doesn't. And that's how we start to keep buying things and masking and ending up with closets full of stuff, that we don't ever wear, because all of a sudden maybe we'll fit into this size thing and whatever, and we get lost in this kind of self-sabotage thing. And when we sit and understand what our trauma responses are, which is what Sacred Singlehood is understanding where is your self-protection, right? We can start to recalibrate new responses that feel healthy in the body. It's not to say they go away all the time. I still get triggered and activated to, overwork, over-exercise, drink. There are still certain responses within the nervous system. It's just being able to catch that feeling before the behavior, right? We have the awareness of what it feels like in our body to have the activation, to be triggered, to have whatever it is, before we get sent into this trauma response, which is the behavior we're trying to change, right? And so when we can catch that, hello, Lenora, when we can catch that, everything changes, especially our finances. Like, money is such a funny thing for people to talk about, and we're so afraid of it, but it's all a reflection of our relationship to self, right? Like, if we look at, because our nervous system, our life is always a reflection of our nervous system. So if money feels like it's chaotic and we feel like it's all over the place and we feel like it's scary, it's like, where in your nervous system is that also showing up? Like, what are we trying to mask here? What are we trying to avoid? What are we trying to, all of a sudden maybe get a handle on, when we could just look at it and make peace with it and actually regulate our nervous system to be a match with that, because at the end of the day, debt's a privilege, right? To be able to have that, to do the things that we want to do, like, that is a privilege to have. And when we can sit in that and find the peace, so much changes. And then the third one I wanted to address was relationships, right? And a lot of us, when we go into, not a lot of us, but I'll speak for myself. Like, when I first learned about, feminine energetics and my relationship healing wounds, like, I was going through one of the most traumatic breakups of my life that changed my entire life. And I got into these problems because I was like, I'm going to heal this, so I will find a love, and he will heal me. He will make me feel like I'm worthy and I belong and I have all these things, and it's going to be perfect. And then I'm going to feel this love, and it's going to replace the love that I never got from my family. Like, all these kind of narratives that was building up in my brain. But that will never come. What I actually learned was the relationship you have is the most important one with yourself, and it's the hardest one you're ever going to have. And we avoid it, and we think things are, at least I avoided it. I did spiritual bypassing. I built my first business off of avoiding it, like all the things, until you sit there and one day it's like we seek deep connection, and it's like, how do I get there? How do I find this love? How do I find this sisterhood? How do I belong in communities? How do I, feel like I belong in my workplace, or to my friends and family, or like authentically to my communities for my entrepreneur ladies? Like, how do I do that? And so we start accumulating all these things: money, looks, certain stuff, certain areas, certain, ways that we speak, to find our way of belonging. Like, all of this is built up pre-25, right before prefrontal cortex. Like, we're just trying to find a way to belong in this world, to protect, to survive, to do the kind of things that we do. And then we get to the age of 25 and we're like, why do I still not feel like I belong here? Hi, Tamara, it's so good to see you. Why do I feel like I still don't belong here? Why am I chasing these things? And it's because the relationship you have with yourself. And so when I have done this work, like regulated my nervous system, it feels so good to be in a space that feels so safe for other people to land. And maybe you can feel that, like, when you're in my energy, or if we're friends and my friends are watching this, but like, when you regulate yourself, because of co-regulation, because of how the world works, we are always co-regulating with other people, even strangers, and you can feel it, right? Like, if you have ever met someone and like, you can tell they're sad, right? You can tell they're sad, and they walk into the coffee shop and you can just feel their energy. It's heavy, and you're like, wow, I can feel, like, to be able to, yes, some days you're going to have sad days, some days you're going to have these kind of things, but to be able to be that safe place for other people, you'll see how it invites them to regulate as well, and it deepens. Like, my friends are my family, whereas like, I used to feel like no one knew me. I used to feel like, they never understand me. Like, I have acquaintances, but I felt very alone in things. Like, no one actually really knew my soul, and that was because I didn't know it. And so no matter how many friends I had, it was like I was waiting for someone to mirror it back to me, and it's like, no one can really do that. Hey, Cassie. No one can really do that except yourself. And that can be scary, because it's common to want other people to do it for us, but it's this invitation where you get to become the safest place for you to land, and then everyone else gets to be an extension. So even if you are in partnership, you get to deepen the relationship you have with your husband or your wife or your person. Like, you get to deepen that, and then with your friendships, you get to deepen that. Or maybe you've never even had that and you want to explore it, where it's like, how do I find this place where it's like, wow, these are like deep friendships, this is amazing, I want to deepen this. Or with your children, like, to be able to safe place for them, instead of us triggering based on our programming. Like, we get to actually just hold space for our children when they're going through things, instead of projecting our own dysregulation onto them. It's magical. And so oftentimes when we're thinking of like, oh, like when I even came up with the name Sacred Singlehood, that was something where I was like, are people going to understand that? Are they going to understand that this isn't a dating profile? This isn't a program to like find the man or the woman or the person. It's the program to find you. It's a program to, like, going through these steps have healed my eating disorder, have healed my chronic health issues, have healed my, anxiety and suicidal ideation and panic attacks, like my metabolism. Like, I can just keep listing off things that this work has impacted because I was chasing so many things. And I know a lot of women in my community do this as well. We look for the diet, we look for the perfect thing, we look for the perfect outfit, we look for the perfect man. And all of that is just, we create that. We create perfectness by giving it our best and doing our things. Like, it's a choice that we make. And that's a match of our nervous system when we find safety in that, right? And so when we're looking at like, oh, I want to fix my finances, and oh, I want to fix my body, and oh, I want to fix my relationships, that starts with you. That starts with navigating that in between, because to get to that end zone, I was about to say my lawyer, but that's not it. My mentor always says, it's like a mountain without a peak. That's what it is, right? Like, as you're going on this journey of self-discovery and you're noticing these things, and a lot of people in my world, they start with nutrition, and then it gets into mindset, and then it gets into body work, and then it keeps going into the trauma work, and we have deep conversations around that. That's why I love high-level one-on-one mentorship. But we start somewhere, and then it starts to compound on the things that we're healing. But if you actually look at it, these symptoms that we chase, the debt, the body image issues, the eating disorder recovery, the anxiety, the fighting in relationships or choosing the toxic partner, and, keep reliving these narratives because we haven't learned the lesson. If we really look at that, and can you ask yourself, like, what are these things trying to fill for me? What's the void this is trying to fill for me right now? Right? Like, my eating disorder was my control. I wanted something to control. I wanted to feel like I had control over something in my life, so I got very strict on things, right? Or my money, it felt like I was, always trying to swim upstream with it, and I couldn't do anything about it, so I never looked at it, and it was this fear-based thing. It's like, well, where is this overspending kind of thing? What am I overspending on? And it's like, every time I felt like I didn't belong, I was buying things thinking that would replace it, and that never worked. Or my relationships, the drama that, like, I used to call in these like fixer-upper kind of guys, and I have so much love for any of you if you're watching this or listening to this, but I used to call these things in, and really it's that hard reflection of, we're a match for our nervous system. Our life is a match for our nervous system. So although these people, some of them not so great, I'm the one that was calling them in. I'm the one that stayed. I'm the one that kept going back. I'm the one that carried this with me into other good relationships thinking they were boring, and then I would self-destruct them, and looking at that and being like, all of that, every single thing has to do with the relationship I have with myself. And that's okay. That doesn't mean we sit and have this whole shadow experience where it's like finger blaming and pointing and blaming our parents and doing this whole thing. It's like, no, it's so powerful to take ownership over that. Like, I am in the driver's seat, right? You're in the driver's seat. You get to choose how you respond. You get to choose how you release. You get to choose how you navigate these next steps of your life by putting 2 feet in or by observing. Like, we can observe and we can do until we're ready. I did that for a long time. That's okay if that's one of you guys right now. Like, I'm just gonna like get a feel for this. But at the end of the day, it's like we're putting off this whole process where it's like sticking our toe in the water being like, is it cold? Is it cold? And I'm in the water being like, it's fucking freezing, get in. Like, this is how we do things, get in. And it's like testing the water, and we're just kind of getting scared of it because it's like, because our nervous system doesn't like change. That's why it's called a comfort zone. And so these tendencies of overspending, tendency of chronic dieting, tendency of shitty relationships, like, all of these are because your nervous system is used to that. And so no matter how many positive affirmations that you do, if your nervous system is like, I don't fucking believe a word you're saying, because none of that, like, you have so many lived experiences that prove that to be false. So it's going to keep calling in those things, right? Like, this is why, like, energy healing and things like that. I'm like, I fucking love it. And the body needs to be a part of that conversation. Because if we sit there and we look and we see, oh, like my life is like this, my relationships are like this, my finances are like this, and yet we're not looking at that, and we're trying to be like writing, I'm going to make $10,000, I'm going to make, and we're writing it like 100 times and lighting a candle and being like, let's do it, like, and wondering why it doesn't work, because your body isn't feeling like it's safe around that. Or I'm going to get the man of my dreams, he's going to be like this, and we're like future scripting for whatever. Like, I love all those practices, and if your body is like, ma'am, I do not believe a word you're saying, we keep calling in the same things. Is this landing for you? This is making sense. But those were just 3 ways that I was sitting on the couch just kind of thinking, and I was going to do like a story, and then I was like, wait, this is so much that I want to say, because it is a bold conversation, right? We want to stop chasing. I used to say this all the time when I was in gut health, like, stop chasing symptoms, because that's what we were doing, like food sensitivities and what have you. And I was like, please stop doing that. Like, we have to get to the root cause, which is metabolic dysfunction. But even at the root of metabolic dysfunction is our body stuck in a trauma loop. So even when we're on this road of healing our body and healing our things, like, we still have to get to the root cause of things, which is our body and our nervous system being stuck in these loops. And so instead of chasing symptoms, spending so much time, so much money, so much disappointment, so much frustration on these extensions of things, why not just look at what the actual thing is? Your relationship with yourself. Because when you have that, and life can throw you a quantum crumble, can throw you hiccups, can throw you these things, like, it's no longer living in a fear state of what if, like, what about, getting lost in these things. It's like we stay in the present moment, that we can heal and our body can handle it. Like, we can't control life. Whatever lessons come is what the universe wants our lessons to be, and that's okay. Can you trust that? Can you trust you in the process of that discovery and that journey? That's the evolution. That is sacred singlehood. That is the in-between, right? Because we are always going to have in-betweens of life. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's something with our kids, whether it's with our business, whether it's with our career growth, whether it's with the housing market, whether with its debt, like, we're always in this in-between of life. And that is actually where the best learning ever comes. That is where the comfortability lies. And when we can trust that chapter and dive in and look at it, hey Adriana, and we can look at it, that is the deep healing work. You can hear the planes behind me, sorry. That is that deep healing work. So these are why, tools and strategies and things like that, it's multidimensional, right? Like, when we think of like, oh, sacred singlehood, of, oh, like, let me heal my heart, it's like, yes, and it's a yes and conversation. It's multidimensional, and it heals eating disorders, and it heals your relationship to self, and it heals body dysmorphia, and it heals your relationship to money, and it heals your friendships, your relationships, your family dynamics. It's a both and conversation. It's so big, it's so bold. And if you're one of my women that, like, you've been doing the positive affirmations, you've been doing the journaling, you've been doing the therapy, and you're like, why do I keep doing this? Why is this continually showing up for me? Like, I don't understand. I get you. I hold so much space for you. I remember when I was in that, and I was like, what? Why me? Kind of vibe. Like, why does this keep happening to me? And it's a heavy spot to be in. And then it comes this one moment in time where you get a choice. You either continue doing the things that we're doing, being like, okay, so am I better yet? Am I better yet? Am I better yet? Or we pivot and do the things we haven't done yet, like healing the body, like looking at our trauma responses, like shedding these protection layers so that we can use tools and strategies and actually get the body into safety. This is why I love science, honestly. Like, I mean, a big thing in trauma is understanding why things work the way that they work, so that your trauma brain can have conversations with your conscious brain, and you can have this little dance in between. And that's what I want to show you, because life gets to be this magical little thing that becomes fearless, that becomes free, that becomes expansive. But when we've been through trauma, we've been through heartbreak, over the years, it chips at us. It takes away this strength and this power and this curiosity of what life can truly be like, and we start to play smaller than we want because it's safer. Once we've had heartbreak, like real fucking heartbreak, like after I lost my mom, real fucking heartbreak. And then that relationship, real fucking heartbreak. And then, prior to my mom even passing, like our family splitting up, like going from this like perfect little family to all of a sudden this quantum crumble of a 16-year-old that couldn't make sense of addictions and what was happening and what have you, like all the things. And like real heartbreak, when you experience that stuff, it's hard to have hope, right? But like I said, then you get to this point where it's like, I choose to do something different. I choose to put 2 feet in on me because I'm expanded and I learn things, and I'm listening to these things and I'm ready to face this stuff and I'm ready to start looking at stuff. And it's that narrative and that conversation that changes everything. And this is why this is why it's beyond just therapy, because therapy is talking about the past and understanding why it happened and why we are the way we are and things like that and undressing it. Very powerful tool. I fucking love therapy. Big fan. But coaching and programs and things like this, nervous system work, is about getting you safe in the present so you could build resiliency for the future. Because when we experience real heartbreak, we settle for the crumbs of connection instead of love, instead of expansion, instead of chasing these dreams. We're like, well, this feels safer because that one time I felt this, that fear, that crunch, that like heartbreaking wrench, like sickness that we get from heartbreak. Like I felt that one time, and because of that, now I'm afraid to really go all in on my life. And so we just settle for these crumbs of connection. But I believe that you're here because you want more than that. I believe that people come into our life, whether it's in our life or on the internet. Like, this is why I fucking love social media. But people come into our life because they reflect back what we want. So if this is coming to you and it's like, wow, this is what I needed to hear today, I love you and I hold you, right? Like, there is such a healing opportunity that comes when we look at this stuff. When we really start to look at it. Like, sometimes it's just like peeking in the veil and we're like, I'm not sure if I'm ready yet. But for the people that are ready, that's when we take the leap. And it's scary. I get you, because our nervous system is like, wait a second, I'm not worthy. I don't belong. I don't do these things. Let me go back to my old tendencies of drinking and avoiding and Netflixing and all the kind of things. Let me do that because that feels more comfortable. And then we start chasing these things like, let me worry about finances and worry about this diet and worry about these things. And it's like, we just have to get to the root of, why is our nervous system calling in these things? And it sounds so simple. And I wouldn't say it's the simplest thing in the world, but that's where we start, instead of chasing these external things of, because they're just things at the end of the day, of money, of bodies, of like the shape of our bodies or the colors of our skin, or things of these nature that we get so hung up on, where it's like, when we feel so safe in ourselves, everything else becomes limitless. Like, a phrase my mentor always says is like, the sky isn't even the limit. And that's what we do when we start to stretch our nervous system and reprogram her so that she can actually utilize the power that she holds. That's the strength. And that doesn't mean heartbreak doesn't come. You guys are walking with me as I navigate a really big heartbreak, a really big one. And although it hurts, especially Sundays, although it hurts, it's one of these things that it's like, I am so expanded in that in between. I'm so here to be intuitive, to share it with you guys, because I wish I heard more about this stuff. I'm here to, walk with it as opposed to avoid it, so that I don't carry it into my next relationship. Like, there's no mistake that Sacred Singlehood launched and then this happened. There's no mistake by the universe when this stuff, And so if you're one of my ladies where it's like, you've been chasing the dieting, you've been chasing the money and finances, you've been chasing the relationships and things like that, and you're like, I feel like it's like I'm chasing my tail, like nothing is really working, that's where you want to tap into Sacred Singlehood, right? Like, this is that 3-week immersion where I'm showing you my tools. I'm literally opening up everything that has got me to the success that I have around my finances, around my health, around my relationships, with my friendships and my people, and even uncoupling with Elvis, right? Like, it's not toxic. I love that man to bits. We had a conscious uncoupling. To be able to do that, sometimes I'm like, why are we so mature? Like, but to be able in that space where it's like we don't have to have these bitter endings, because usually when we do, that's when we're carrying that trauma with us to rectify. And so we can actually get to these levels of calibration and regulation to set the tone and set a new narrative, right? To have, like, can you imagine how many hearts would be healed if we had more conscious uncouplings, if we had more conversations about what's happening, and, you know, instead of projecting all these past traumas and things about our parents and things about old friendships. Like, if we just had healthy conversations around this, how many hearts would be healed? You know, how many more bold, brave conversations could we have? So these are the practices and the tools that have helped me have all of this, right? And so this is a 3-week immersion. We do have extended payment plans available for anyone that's looking to jump in and really activate this. You'll have lifetime access. We have 2 calls a week, so 6 modules in total. And you'll have this, they'll be live, so you get to ask me questions just like this, and you'll have them inside of a member vault that you can pop back into whenever you want. But this is beyond journal prompts. This is beyond mindset hacking and affirmation doing things. Like, that stuff, if your nervous system and your subconscious are not on board, like, there's a reason things keep happening, and that's because the nervous system isn't at that calibration. And when we get to that calibration is when we free up these toxic protection mechanisms. It's wild, it's magic, and it's the journey of a lifetime. And it's going to be so fucking potent because of this chapter of life, because of the pivot in the business and the pivot in the relationship and all the things. Like, I get to walk with you on it and show you how I'm able to show up and lead and do this stuff and still call this in and still have faith and still get so not ready yet, but so excited that eventually falling in love again and doing these things. Like, it just feels so safe to be in life and to do that with you. I'm just so honored. It's a close-knit community. Even if you're like afraid of group programs, I did a live on that the other day, but because I know that was one of my things. I was like, oh, I don't want to be in a group, you know, like, I don't want people to see my pain. And it's like, there's so much expansion in groups, and it's just like this. It's not like everyone on a Zoom call, like, it's a teaching kind of style thing. But just really witnessing that, where it's like, I don't want to be in a group and being like, but why? Who told you your pain is too much? Who told you that you have to do these things alone on the back burner? You know, where was that taught in your life? I know that was a big thing for me in my family, like, your emotions are too much and blah, 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 all the things. But being in groups, being in co-regulation with women that are on the journey with you, that is how we learn how to self-regulate, right? Like, we learned how to regulate ourselves from our caregivers as young kids. That's how we first learned how to self-regulate. To be able to self-regulate, you have to first co-regulate. That's why this is a group program instead of me doing my, although I do have one-to-one, so if you are looking at that, you would get one-to-one plus the group to learn all this stuff. But that's why, right? Like, to be able to sit there and be like, what could this actually show me if I allowed people to come on this journey with me? If I did this with women that understood me, if I did this with people that wanted to have these conversations, because sometimes the people around us don't get it. Like, what would that feel like to finally belong and to put that into practice? Like, that changes everything, right? So, like I said, we start on Monday, so we start tomorrow for our first call. Price will be going up as soon as I click play. So, if you are looking to jump in, if you've been tuning into these lives and you're like, I'm obsessed, and you're feeling that activation and you're feeling that pull, like, follow that. The more we sit out and we sit on the sidelines, the more we miss out, right? And then we play the what if game, and then 3 weeks later we see all these people come out of a program, or we walk out of things and we see this regulation. It's like, who could you be in 3 weeks from now if you put 2 feet in on you? What would that conversation be like? How would you be showing up to life? What conversations would you be having in your life? Who would you be? Right? Like, that's all possible. You just have to take the leap and trust yourself. Okay? And stop chasing the symptoms. I'm going to say that even if I'm not talking about health. Chasing symptoms, whether it's our body, whether it's our health, whether it's the shape of our body, whether it's our finances, whether it's the drama in our, like, it's all just symptoms. And when we get to the root, we heal it all, right? Like, think about it. If you healed the relationship with yourself, how would all these other areas of your life be affected? Your health, the inflammation in your body, the relationship you have with the girl in the mirror, right? How would that be? your finances, how would that be more controlled? You know, if you honored yourself and you loved yourself and everything, and life was flowing to you and you trusted it, and you felt regulated, how would your finances be? And then how would your relationships be, your friendships, your family, the relationship you, maybe your partner, like how would those be if you fully felt whole and complete in yourself? Right? Like these things are so interconnected. Hey, Ben. And I would love to walk on that journey with you. So I love you. You're beautiful. We start tomorrow. It's a portal of activation, and I'm so fucking excited. But I'm going to go back to my sacred Sunday. And I will see you somewhere on the internet.